All right, everybody, is labor in the house? Now, Sean and I have a great relationship, and you know what I do each time he comes here? I come here, I rub his head for good luck. So we'll have more good luck in the next few years. Now, Sean mentioned my nickname, the mailman. Reminds me of a story. So my real nickname was Chuck. We had an Uncle Charlie on my father's side. My mom said, "You want to name him Charles? That's okay, but he can't be Charlie, he's got to be Chuck." And so I was. And when I was 5 years old, I ran up the stairs of our house, happy as could be. I said, "Mommy, Mommy, I found out my name rhymes with luck." Then when I was 8 years old, I ran up the stairs of our house crying. I found out what else Chuck rhymed with. And in the 5th grade of PS 197 in Brooklyn, the #1 song on the hit parade was a song you may remember, The Name Game. You know, Mary, Mary, Bo Berry, Banana Fana. Well, the whole 5th grade would sing in the hallways, Chuck, Chuck, Bo Buck, Banana Fana. So I tell people, you remember the Johnny Cash song, A Boy Named Sue? He named his son Sue to be tough. When you're Chuck, you are tough as fucking nails. So, hello, building trades. Where are my New Yorkers? All right. And first, I do want to thank Sean McGarvey. He's done an amazing job. We do talk all the time. We know each other's cell phones by heart. When it comes to helping the building trades, there's no one better than him. I can only say one bad thing about him. He's a goddamn Eagles fan. Other than that, he's A-okay. And what a great bunch of leaders you have here, the general presidents. I know every one of them. They've all worked with me on issue after issue after issue. You have some really great leadership here in building trades. So thank you all for the great job that you do, to the gentlemen on the stage and the others. So it's so great to be here. I look forward to coming every year. The pride of our country, you, the builders and construction workers who built America from the ground up, from the Erie Canal, dug through the soil of my state, to the Hoover Dam, to the Golden Gate Bridge, and all the way back to the Empire State. Before most Americans even wake up, you guys and gals are already on the job, hard at work, building the infrastructure we depend on to make our country work and grow. It's thanks to all of you that working and middle-class families have a right to dignity, a right to organize, a right to a fair day's pay for an honest day's work. My brothers and sisters, I'm fighting in your corner every single day. It all started when I first ran. I was 23 years old. I'd worked for a law firm. I didn't like it. I was pushing a pencil for some guy I didn't know, and I thought I'd dislike the guy if I ever met him. And I ran for office. And no one thought I'd win. The first day I ran, I went into my local barber, Frankie, and I said, "Hey, Frankie, would you put a poster in the window?" He says, "Sure, kid." And then he says, "Kid, I never told you this. I'm not only the local barber, I'm the local bookie. You are the 50-to-1 underdog. How much you laying on yourself, kid?" No one thought I'd win, but I won. And the only people who were with me, the only people, the whole machine was against me, was the union movement, because my family had so many members in the union movement. And that night at the Union Hall, where we celebrated our victory, I said to the men and women of labor there, "You were there when I needed you. I will always be there when you need me, and I am going to continue to do that." That's why everything I do as your Senate Majority Leader, I make sure all federal dollars support union labor and good union jobs. No federal money should go to scab labor. Fight hard for Davis-Bacon, prevailing wage. Fight hard for PLAs that employ union labor. And it's been a tumultuous 2 years. It's not been easy picking ourselves up after COVID. Despite these many challenges, these were also about the 2 most successful years we've had for labor in 50 years. It's good to have a pro-labor majority leader in the Senate. One of our biggest accomplishments was pension reform. I remember meeting a construction worker. Came over to me and he had tears rolling down his cheeks. Big guy. He said to me, they want to cut my pension by 90%. No fault of my own. I put in my money every 2 weeks. But these financial moguls wanted to cut my pension. He said, I don't care about me, but my wife, my kids, and even my parents depend on that pension. When everybody said, you can't do it, when the opponents, big bosses, and the financial interests said, hell no, we fought and we fought and we fought, and now, thanks to your advocacy and the leadership here, we have pension reform, and 10 million American workers get their full pensions 100%. They put the money in, they deserve to get it back. We also provided 100% COBRA relief. I know how it is in the trades. Some years and months there's full employment, and some years there's not. What do you do about health care? And when even the House said, well, we'll give them 80%, I said, well, how are they, if they're not working right now, how are they going to come up with the other 20%? They're going to get no health care. We made COBRA 100% so people who aren't working can still get their health care. And since we make appointments, last year I was proud to break the decade-long freeze at the NLRB. The previous administration had paralyzed the NLRB, starved it of the tools it needed to fulfill its mission, which is to protect the working men and women of labor. We got it done, and now they're making good rulings for the first time in a long time, and your unions can go to the NLRB and know that they'll get a fair shot. But probably the proudest of all was the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the largest investment in American infrastructure ever, $1.2 trillion. That is a fucking lot of money, baby. Fixing our roads and our bridges and our highways, our airports, our ports, replacing lead pipe, restoring broadband, upgrading existing buildings and homes to make them energy efficient. Every one of those dollars is only going to be used for union labor once and for all. Remember all the times you were taught that there was infrastructure week or infrastructure month? Didn't happen. Now it's happened. And this is not going to, the money is going to, you're going to see huge amounts of money starting next year. This year, some of it's come around, but not as much because they're doing the planning and the engineering and all that other stuff. But this money is going to keep the men and women you represent employed, top wage, Davis-Bacon, PLA, in good-paying jobs for over a decade to come. A decade to come. So many good projects from one end of the country to the other. In New York, we're going to have Gateway. Going to be, Tip O'Neill had the big dig. New York's got Gateway. It's going to be you Massachusetts guys. I know that big dig was good. But I hate the Red Sox. You know that. Patriots, But it's going to be even bigger than the big dig and employ millions and millions and millions of people over the period, or thousands and thousands of people over the time. And the Chips and Science Bill. Finally, we're fighting back against China. We're going to make the chips here. And every one of those factories all across the country will be built only with union labor. Everywhere we look, we helped. So now they're going to do a lot of wind turbines, onshore, offshore. In the past, Sean would call me on this regularly. Everyone's here. It's great. All those wind turbines and all this clean energy, again, only built and constructed with union labor. So this is great. Now, I do have one little mission for you. The president has nominated a really strong pro-labor Secretary of Labor, supported by the building trades, supported by the AFL-CIO. Her name is Julie Su. We're not going to get a single vote from the other side of the aisle for her. So we need you to call your senators, particularly those who are wavering. I'm sure the building trades will get you the names. Call them up, tell them we need Julie Su. We need a pro-labor. We had a great pro-labor secretary before. She was his deputy, helping him all the way. We need her again. Call, call, call. We're going to get Julie Su appointed as the next pro-labor Secretary of Labor. So, bottom line, I believe in all of you. I believe in what you do. I have many family members in various construction trades, and I know how important it is to get a good wage and provide decency and dignity to your family. And I'm going to close with a story about my dad. My New Yorkers know what they've told him, but I'd share it with all of you. So, and he passed away last year. For those of you who've been close to your parents who've had an influence on him, he's still standing here next to me giving me guidance, and I miss him dearly. But here's the story. So my grandpa emigrated to the United States in 1892, and he came from a poor family, so his parents didn't come, and he was supposed to be raised by an uncle, he and his two little brothers. But the uncle was a ne'er-do-well. So my grandpa slept in doorways, stole apples from the push carts. He never went to school. He had to teach himself to read and write as a young adult. But he's 14 years old, and it's pouring rain. And he sees everyone going into this nice building on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. He says, hey, they're not charging admission. He had no money. They're not charging admission. I'll go in and get dry. God's hand, fate. What was that building? It was the Labor Temple, built by the unions to teach the poor Irish and German and Italian and Polish and Jewish and other immigrants about the union movement. It was their annual meeting. He listened for 6 hours to the speakers, including Eugene V. Debs, and he got labor religion. He became a union guy all the way. He ends up in Utica, New York, working in the paper mills, and he was one of the founders of the Paper Workers Union. Not one of the top 3, but one of the top 50. Now, World War II occurs. My dad, here we come to my dad, he's a patriot. Right after Pearl Harbor, he enlists. They give him a test and teach him radar. He scores so high, they gave him top secret clearance and taught him radar. And radar in the early days, it was being perfected at the beginning of World War II. Its main mission, of course, was to see airplanes, but the Army Air Corps, they didn't have an Air Force then. The Army Air Corps gave him a second mission. There was a second mission for radar, to see mountains, because the Allies were flying these big, awkward C-45, C-47 freighter planes over the Himalaya mountains to supply Chiang Kai-shek, the Chinese war leader, who had been pushed inland by the Japanese. And the Japanese fighter planes, the Zeros, would chase these planes into the mountains because the mountains were enshrouded in clouds. So my dad flew 20 missions, helped perfect radar, saved thousands of lives. He was sort of a war hero, never got, well, and was shot at by Japanese Zeros all the time, never hit. The only injury he got a parasite in the airfield in Burma, lost his hair. When I became a congressman, he calls me up. Now you're a congressman, can you get me my Purple Heart? I said, it's not for parasites, Dad. In any case, World War II ends. Grandpa has lost his job as a union organizer, and he buys a little exterminating business in Brooklyn. But Grandpa's not a businessman. He's an idealist. He goes into people's homes, he exterminates. He says, hey, you shouldn't have rats and roaches. I see you're real poor. Pay me when you can. He told the 3 workers in the business he bought how to form a union and ask him for more money. So he's the only boss whose picture hung in a union hall, the pest control union, as a founder of the union. But anyway, the family's starving when Dad gets back. Grandpa's not a businessman. He's the oldest of all the boys, so he has to go into this crappy little business, and he has to work there for 45 years. But like the greatest generation, he never complained. I never even heard him utter words of resentment against people who might have been given a better break than him. And the only good news, when he was 68, he retired. He and my mom had 30 good years together. But he taught me values. 2 values above all. First, always help people who need help. That's what you do. But second, he said, if you're doing something important, look in your heart. Make sure it's the right thing to do. And once you're sure it's the right thing to do, persist and persist and persist and never give up, and God will reward you and you will succeed. Together, my brothers and sisters in labor, we will persist and persist and persist and persist. We will never give up, and we will do even better for the building trades and the working men and women of this great country, and make sure they can live lives of dignity in full equality. God bless you. God bless the building trades. God bless the United States of America. I love you. Thank you.